There's just no chance of me getting any more light in this room.
You're up north, mate. Light doesn't exist. It's just cloud.
Listen, I'm proud to live in Mordor.
All right, I think we can start the podcast. We usually start off with the guests introducing themselves. I can imagine many people know you already, but for those that don't, a quick introduction into yourself and what you do would be a great way to kick things off, Devin.
Awesome, let's do it. Bring it on. But yeah, my name's Devin Graham. I'm known as Devin Supertramp on social media. I've been making YouTube videos for the last 15 years. Have 6.5 million followers on YouTube. And I just travel the world doing cool content, anywhere from video games in real life to extreme sports stunts to puppies come out of Christmas boxes. I kind of cover the whole spectrum. And a lot of nature videos too around the world. So I capture whatever I think is cool. I'm a gamer at heart though, so a lot of my stuff kind of goes to that kind of root of why I think I'm also kind of brought on for something like this. But it's definitely given me these amazing opportunities and to work with all these amazing brands that I love as well. So it's been a fun adventure so far and going strong. So we'll see where it goes next.
Nice. This I think we'll briefly talk over your retro gaming history, but I think starting with, why did you get into making films? Was there something that forced you to pick up a camera? Was there a movie that ignited your passion?
Yeah, so I've always made movies ever since I had my dad's like old VHS camera. Like I'm talking like big clunky thing
With the big viewfinder?
Yeah, exactly that.
Yes.
Red and black. But I would just make like a lot of stop motion videos, a lot of music videos with my siblings. I love James Bond, so a lot of like kind of like espionage like type films, and just, I mean, I look at it now, it's all kind of stupid stuff now, but that definitely like got me into it. It was like the gateway drug for making movies. As far as movies that like inspired me to want to make movies though, I'd say Jurassic Park was like the catalyst for that. I loved like the original Jurassic Park. I remember going to the theaters with my dad and just being like mind blown by how amazing it was. And then of course like Indiana Jones and Star Wars, like those are the other kind of ones that I kind of nerd out about. But Jurassic Park was the film that kind of made me really want to make movies. But ever since I can remember, I've always wanted to make movies. That was always part of the agenda. I went to film school for it. My roommate at the time, like I wanted to make Hollywood movies. Like that was the plan. My roommate was like, Devin, YouTube's going to be the next big thing. You got to jump on that before anyone else does. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to do little YouTube videos. And then I put a couple of videos out there and they ended up blowing up. So then I've kind of stuck with it ever since then. But that was back in, we're talking 2009-ish, right?
I remember. So, I remember watching your content back then. I almost felt like you were the first content creator that would create almost film level quality stuff. I remember it vividly, actually. I used to watch a lot of your stuff.
Yeah, it was like, because I was going to film school, so all my background was filmmaking. It wasn't like vlogging or just like talking in front of the camera. Like I actually hate that type of stuff. I just love like capturing other people in cinematic ways. So it definitely gave me like the advantage to be one of the first people in that space. It was kind of like the California Gold Rush where I got to get in really early. So I got to see a lot of the benefits from that, getting kind of that phase.
Yeah, you started doing quite a lot of snowboarding stuff, didn't you? And then kind of took a move from being in front of the camera to behind it, right?
Yeah, I was hardcore into snowboarding. Not that I was like amazing by any means, but I broke my back snowboarding, I broke my leg snowboarding. That was like all high school days. And we would go out there and we'd be filming and stuff like that. But I honestly have never liked being in front of camera except for like capture my own like little stuff. For me though, it's always been about like showing other people and other people's amazing talents. And for me, like the secret is like finding incredible people because it makes your cinematography or your filmmaking look way better too. So I've lucked out with like always finding really great, talented people to make that kind of shine.
Nice. All right, let's jump into retro gaming because I'm sure you've done plenty of podcasts talking about film and stuff, but we want a unique angle. What was your first video game memory? That's always a good one to start with.
I mean, it's the original NES, so it's Mario Brothers 1 and Duck Hunt, and we didn't own an NES at the time. It was our neighbors that had it, a guy named Adam, and we would just go over there like every day and play the NES, and then like we'd figure out like the warp pipes and like all the secret, like, okay, you duck here and you'll go through the wall here, like all that type of stuff. And then eventually we got an NES, and then a couple people down the street got the NES, and then everyone was just like sharing like secrets of warp pipes and all that. But it was definitely like Mario Brothers 1, Mario Brothers 2, Mario Brothers 3, Duck Hunt, like those were definitely like my kind of in. And then my cousin was hardcore into Sega. So he had like Sonic 2, and then we just go there all the time. And then I remember being mind blown by that as well. So then we eventually got a Sega, and then like I love Donkey Kong Country. So then that was like my gateway into the Super Nintendo era. And the rest.
I get a feeling from your videos and stuff that you are you. Would you say you're like a die-hard Nintendo fan at heart? Like if you were to pick one.
Oh, it's definitely Nintendo for sure. Like out of all the different video game systems, Nintendo is definitely like my core. Yeah. I play PlayStation, I play Xbox, not as much on the Xbox. Like last night I was playing God of War Ragnarok. Like I'm trying to beat that right now. I'm a little behind on because once you make like YouTube videos for a living, it's like a 24/7 job. So you kind of have to put these other things to the side. So I'm slowly like doing them when I have time. But yeah, for me, Nintendo, if I wasn't going to be a filmmaker, I was either going to be an astronaut or a video game designer. I'm not smart enough to be an astronaut. And like the other thing was like, I would love to create for Nintendo. So like my college, if I wasn't going to be filmmaking, it was a college in Washington called DigiPen, which is like a lot of game developers go there to learn. That was like, I'm not sure if it's even around now or not, but growing up, it was kind of like the college that taught you about video games in America. And for me, though, like I always wanted to work with Nintendo, but it's been amazing because I've done so many things with Nintendo, like directly, and we have like a partnership. And they hire me to do awesome projects. Like I didn't know how to get into Nintendo's like kind of in their like mind. But so for me, I created a Mario Kart in real life video, and I put like a lot of money into it. We made our own like custom go-karts that all look like straight from Mario Kart. Put it on YouTube. It ended up getting like 30+ million views. And then Nintendo reached out to me like, hey, Devin, we'd love to hire you to promote. Or actually, the first time was like, we want to fly you out to New York City to meet Miyamoto and be there for yeah. So to meet him, and then the producer Anuma from Zelda, I got to interview them. And they said, we want to fly you out for the unveiling of the new Nintendo system. So I got flown out to New York City, where I got to like interview them and play the Switch for like before anyone else did. And then that was kind of like essentially the start of like my relationship with Nintendo, was like getting to meet like all these incredible legends. And like when they called me, like I was in tears about it. Like I was shaking over it. But like very few people I'm like nervous to meet, but like those are like the people that I've like looked up to, like the Walt Disney of video games in my mind. So just like this larger than life experience.
What are they like as people? Like when you sort of there with Miyamoto and Onuma, like what's that? I mean, I can't imagine that. I would be the same. As sort of go on.
I was definitely like on cloud nine, but it was like I got to go in a room, and I could have one other +1. So my brother's a diehard Nintendo fan too, so they flew him out as well. So me and my brother Corey, and we were just like in this room with like us, Miyamoto and Onuma, and a translator, and like one other Nintendo rep. And we could just like talk to them about anything. I had 7 minutes. So for me, it was like 7 minutes in heaven, right?
Wow.
So, and then they're like, they normally don't sign things. And I'm not someone that like wants things signed. But like, I was like, when I found that out, like that day I went to the Nintendo store in New York City, and I bought a 3DS, brand new one. It's never been played. And I had them both sign, and they both like, one of them wrote, Miyamoto wrote, like he drew a picture of Mario on it with his signature, and Onuma drew like the Triforce with his signature.
That's incredible.
So it's never been like open. Like the 3DS is just like perfectly like there in my office back home. But for me, like they're just super cool, like relatable people. Just like seem very humble. But we had a translator, so obviously there's like a language barrier. But it was just like cool seeing like the legends, the masters themselves, and just being relatable and chill and passionate about what they do.
So in terms of your partnership with Nintendo, did they just kind of do they support you financially with your productions, or are they happy to share your content and share your stuff and give you a bit of a heads up?
So the way it works with my relationship with Nintendo is like after that, like they would just send me out like they sent me out the Switch like I don't know, a month before it went public, and like The Legend of Zelda. So I got to play so a lot of times they'll send me games right when they come out or right before they come out. Like Mario Kart 8, they sent me it like a month before it came out, and then they sent me like a full box of like hold like the ultimate Mario Kart like party with your friends. So I had like
you already knew the tricks and the shortcuts when you went around your friend's house, did you? A month before?
I definitely had an advantage. But like the big thing for me was like I posted to our fans saying, "Hey, I'm gonna have this like Mario Kart party before anyone gets to play, and I want you guys to come and hang out and play it." So we ended up having like 30 people came to our office and we played it for a couple hours. We had like a big tournament. I ended up winning the tournament. So I felt a little bad about that because it was like my own thing.
Listen, if you're the one with the Switch, you've got to be the one who wins, right? The extra practice in, yeah.
The winner gets a signed Nintendo DS.
Right. So it's like that type of stuff. And then I had some other like really cool opportunities where they're like, we want to hire you to promote the new Smash Brothers video. And I'm like hardcore Smash Brother fan. So I got to do that project with them where I created like a real life like set that looked straight out of Smash Brothers. And we had everyone on cables and people were like pulling wires and they were jumping, like double jumping with cables and stuff like that. And then like Nintendo, like it went to Zachary, like all the like higher ups and they had to approve of like our concept, the final video. So that was also another like and then after like that experience, then they're like, we want to hire you to do content for Nintendo's YouTube channel. So they hired me to do like I flew out to California, shot multiple projects for them out in California. So that's kind of like my relationship with Nintendo. But more than anything, like every so often they'll have like their influencers where like 30 or 40 people will jump on, we'll play like Switch together, and then like before the games like get released a lot of times. So it's kind of like a network in that realm.
Does that mean that you're expecting a Switch 2 to drop through your door at any day now, or you know, have you had a little email? He's smiling, Brandon, like he's already had an email.
He looked to the side then.
Here we go.
No, the thing is like I'm super grateful for every opportunity, but it's like at any time it could stop, right? And I'm like, I hope they send me the next Nintendo Switch, whenever that is. I don't know anything about it, and I'd be like the last person they would tell before they make it public. But like I hope that happens, but I never know what I'm gonna get because sometimes I will get things and sometimes I won't get things, and I'll see other people in like that Nintendo group get things and I don't, but then sometimes I do. So it's just like this weird time, but you never know. So I'm always grateful when stuff does happen.
Yeah.
And I'm a hardcore Zelda fan, so like I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago they sent me like this like I don't know, there's probably only like 20 or 30 of these like Zelda boxes made where it was like all handcrafted and like you had to use like all these keys and passwords to like get through it. And like it was like that's like a one of a kind type of thing. So I felt like super lucky I got that. When the Mario movie got released, there was like 500 like gold plated like coins. And they sent me one of those to like promote the movie. So I've had like all this cool like memorabilia that I've been sent that's kind of like generally speaking one of a kind. So I cherish all that stuff.
What's your favorite? I mean, if you're like diehard Zelda, like what do you think to the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom compared to like the classics like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and stuff? Like if you, because I've played them all my life and I still go back to Ocarina on a definitely yearly basis and just play it through and just like still find things that I've missed the first time round. And when I play Tears of the Kingdom, I'm like, it's just so big. Like I've still not completed it because it's just so vast. Like I've put so many hours into it, and I'm like, I just can't. I connect with it, but I just don't connect with it in that same way that I do when I'm seeing the Deku Tree for the first time, and when like, Ganondorf's just doing his, being a dick like he always is in Ocarina.
Yeah. Well, I have to almost collect everything before I finish a game. That's kind of generally my rule. Is like get every like heart container and like every bottle of, as far as Zelda speaking. So for me, like Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, I'm not gonna beat this until I get everything. And then after I put 200 hours in and feeling like I didn't even scratch the surface, I'm like, I'm never going to beat this game if that's going to be my mentality. So literally 2 months ago, I finally beat the game and I just had to like throw to the side that I'm not going to get everything. I'm not going to see everything on, because the map is so massive. And it's like, I feel like I haven't even touched it. I'm 200 plus hours into it. So I finally beat that game like literally 2 months ago. Because like if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. But Ocarina of Time to me is my favorite Zelda game. And I missed like the Link to the Past, like on the Super Nintendo. Like I skipped that era for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's because I got the Super Nintendo later because I had the Sega at the time. And I was hardcore Donkey Kong Country, but I hadn't jumped on Zelda until Ocarina of Time. And I remember my mind being absolutely blown and like, because I still have like my gold edition like box and everything like in perfect condition. I played that game 4 times all the way through and gotten every single thing. And like you were describing though, like every time I play it, it instantly puts me back to like my childhood of like this simpler time and like exploring the world for the first time. And like the first time getting on a pony, I just remember like reading Nintendo Power and being like knowing that you could ride a horse and thinking that was like the coolest thing in the world. And finally, when I had that opportunity and then having this open world, like Breath of, like all the new Zelda games, like they have that openness to it, but it was a different like openness back in the day when you got to experience an openness for the first time on that magnitude. So I definitely feel the same way. Like, yeah, for me, the original Ocarina of Time and the Majora's Mask too, like close second for me as far as like the magic. Nothing's really replaced that. And even the same thing for the Mario games, like Mario 64 too. It has that same feel for me. Like I love like the new Mario Odyssey, Mario Galaxy, but it just doesn't have that same like pure magic of Mario 64. So
going back, you mentioned a lot of consoles. Did you ever get into handhelds, Game Boys, that kind of stuff? Was that your cup of tea?
I love Game Boy. Game Boy Color, not so much. 3DS, definitely. But the original Game Boy, like my dad was a grocery store manager. And they needed a mascot, like guys that wear like big like costumes. And I was a little, I was probably like, I don't know, a 10-year-old. So I wore this as a Wonder Bread costume, so like a bread costume. And I did it for like 3 days, and that's how I earned my Game Boy. So I still have my Game Boy to this day. But yeah, definitely for me, Game Boy was another huge part of like my, I don't know, video game development. But I mean, for me, NES, Super Nintendo, Sega, those were like my go-tos kind of like back in the day. Probably even more so than I'd say like handheld systems.
Nice. I want to talk about your collection. Seb's told me that you have a mighty collection. I want to talk about
that. So Devin showed me his collection on Insta. I commented on a video you'd put up and I was like, do you want to join us on our podcast? And you took me on a walkthrough of your collection. That walkthrough has been in my freaking dreams every night, man. Like, honestly, it was awesome. It was like about 20 seconds long, and you were just showing me rows upon games, like pinball tables and stuff and everything. And I was just like, yeah, we need to get this guy on. And I've just been thinking about it ever since. It's just phenomenal.
I'll have to send you a few more videos because I didn't show you I don't think I showed you my office with all my figures of all like my Zelda figures and like I'm talking like big statues.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I'll send you some stuff. I don't know if that's something that's helpful, but I mean, I'm hardcore collector, and I'm like, when I buy a game, I don't sell it and buy it back. Like when you see it in my collection, it's like the original that I bought that I had like at that time. I'm not, because a lot of my friends now that are collectors, they like sold all their stuff. They didn't take care of the boxes. Like I was lucky for some reason to always take care of all my boxes and everything like that. So everything's in like this phenomenal condition. But I definitely have probably more than most people. And I have it like displayed in my office at home, and then even our office downstairs. Like I also have stuff displayed too, but I don't want to get it too crazy because other people work here too, and I don't want them to feel like I'm like throwing everything Nintendo at them. But it definitely like it makes me happy every time I see that type of stuff, and it's not just stuff that just sits there. It's stuff that I play, and I even have a room in our house that's just retro room, so it has like an old CRTV. And it's all hooked up through like old school cables and stuff like that. And I have like the original Nintendo, the GameCube, Super Nintendo, Sega. Like it's just all the old retro that like that's my retro room. So it's been kind of a fun little room.
Do you have anything like super wacky? Anything like quite limited or just something weird? I guess you get all the stuff you've been sent recently over the years. That's quite unique.
I'd say that's definitely unique but like nothing. I think Rob the Robot's something I really want that I never got. And then I had the Virtual Boy. That's I think the only console I actually sold, and I wish I would have held on to that one. And maybe one day that's something I'll acquire again. But nothing too. I don't have like something that's like one of original Nintendo games. But I have like Chrono Trigger, like a lot of games that are worth a lot of money. Earthbound. Yeah. Bucky O'Hare, I love Bucky O'Hare. You guys probably don't even know what that is.
I know Bucky O'Hare, yeah.
For the NES, but it's like that cartridge itself is worth like $400. But it was like the one I would always rent, and I was like die-hard Bucky O'Hare fan, and that was just like my little random thing. So I definitely have like a bigger collection of kind of all the old school stuff. But I'm hardcore. More than anything for me, Donkey Kong Country was like my jam. Like anything Rareware, especially in the N64 era too, like that hits me like super hard. And I love anything in that realm too. But like I have a lot of my Super Nintendos. I have my Pogs that have like Donkey Kong Country on them still. So I definitely have like a lot of that type of weird random stuff as well. That's pretty limited.
I'm currently making my way through this again.
Okay. Classic.
So I just put this. I've got my N64 next to me. Like, so whenever I finish writing, I just play like an hour of Banjo-Tooie.
My goals or go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go.
I would say my goal because my friend who's a music composer for video games, he just did the Harry Potter one. But every December he plays through Banjo-Kazooie, and it was like inspiring me to like I need to do that too. And especially now with the NSO, like it being available on the Nintendo Switch, it's like really easy to do. So that's kind of my hope this December to also do that. So
what's your thoughts there about Nintendo bringing out remakes on a Nintendo Switch Online? Do you like that, or you prefer going back to the classics on your CRT?
It's way easier on the Nintendo Switch. So that's kind of how but I have like the Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo 64 controller they came out with, I have 4 of those. So, and I mean, like for me, like GoldenEye was also my jam, for the 64. And that one, like it looks better than it did on the, on the original N64. The new retro system that's coming out, the 4K one from Analog, that comes out next year. Like I bought 2 of those.
And not for like, black or white?
I went for black because I just wanted to feel as like how it felt before. But like that's like when that comes out, that's where I'll be playing it. And like all my N64 controllers, they all got destroyed from playing Mario Party back in the day. You know how you had to play the games where you had to like do that to the analog sticks. So they were all so bad. So I got them all replaced because there's so many places online where you can get them replaced essentially with like the GameCube joystick. So I've replaced all of them on my original N64 because I have like 6 or 7 of those controllers. So I'm definitely like really excited once the Analog releases their system.
So the stuff that the videos you've mentioned already so far, like your Zelda videos you've done, your Mario Kart, are these ideas that you've had like from being a child while playing these games that you've sort of just been working on, like, through your mind all this time? Or are these kind of like recent things that you've got when you've been playing, Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, and you suddenly thought, oh yeah, I've got an idea for that? Like, are they kind of things you've been thinking, one day I will make this happen? Or are they kind of things that just pop into your head, like as an adult while playing these games?
I'd say it's a little bit of both.
Right.
We haven't talked about the PlayStation realm for me, but like I love Metal Gear Solid. Like when that came out too, same kind of thing with like Ocarina of Time, is that blew my mind as far as storytelling goes. And as far as like that's the closest thing to a movie in video games I feel that's been done, especially at that time when it came out originally. So last year we did a big Metal Gear Solid like fan film, like in real life. I filmed it in Hawaii. I flew all these people out to Hawaii. Then we like went all out on it. And it was based on Metal Gear Solid 3. So I took like my love for the whole Metal Gear Solid series and recreated it. But like before I did it, I was like, I want this to be as true to the fans as possible. So then I pulled out my PlayStation 3 again, and then I played through Metal Gear Solid 3 again, just to make sure it could be like on point. And then like based on the comments that I've gotten, people have been like so stoked on how true it's been and like bringing that to life. But it's like a little bit of everything. Like the Mario Kart video that we did. Like I'd played Mario Kart since the Super Nintendo era, since it came out. But then all of a sudden the Luigi meme came out where he's giving the Luigi death stare is what it's called, right? And I was like, I love this. Everyone else on the internet loves it. So what if I brought that meme to life, and like the whole Mario Kart video I did was based off of the Luigi death stare. So I was like getting inspiration from like my whole childhood, my whole life, but also current events as far as like what's trending and what's popular. Like we did a big Mario video, and I released it right before the newest Mario, or we did like when we did a Zelda music video, I released it right before the latest Zelda video. So I do try and do things based on trends. Like yesterday we shot a big Sonic the Hedgehog video, and I've done 2 Sonic Parkour videos. This will be my 3rd one, and I'm going to release it next week right before Sonic 3 comes out in theaters.
Nice.
So I always try and play off of kind of what's going to be trendy, or what I think is going to be trendy as well. But with that said, is like a couple weeks after that, I have a big Mario video coming out, and there's nothing right now in the realm of Mario. But this is like a video I've spent the last 2 years because I filmed it over every different season because I wanted to have like the snow world in it. I have the desert world in it. So you'll see that at the end of December. And that like it's taken a lot of time. But I've done it on and off, but it's all based on like the weather and the different like snow and different things happening during the seasons.
So are you shooting on like the same cameras and stuff? And like, are your actors having to like stick to a certain diet? Because I know 2 years ago I was a little skinnier than I am now.
Right, the same problem they'll have. I mean, I just have them shave, and I'm using athletes for like those projects, and athletes usually are always in shape. Knock on wood. But like the Sonic Parkour one we just shot, like Kalen, our athlete, he had a big, like not a big beard, but a full like beard he had grown like over the last couple of days. So I was like, can you shave that for the video? Because Sonic doesn't have a beard, and that might hit like people wrong. So he shaved for that.
God of War.
Yeah.
Are
right?
you so when you're building your sets and stuff, are you literally kind of bringing out your Switch and looking at it in that perspective, or looking at screenshots and trying to get the replication as perfect as you can?
It kind of depends. Like for example, like the Mario Parkour one or the one I'm releasing in a couple weeks. That one's it's like Into the Mario verse. So it goes through all of Mario history. So it starts off in like Mario Kart. Toad gets kidnapped by Waluigi, and then they jump through like a pipe, and then all of a sudden they're in Mario Brothers 1 world, where like all the VFX and everything are all like 2D animated. And then they go into Mario Odyssey and then Mario Galaxy. Like Mario Galaxy, we have it like it looks like they're on a little planet, like a tiny planet. So and then like Mario 64, like I have the penguin, like things that make each of the games iconic. So I had like all the different screenshots, and I actually even have it where when he goes through the pipe, his costume changes. Like the original Mario 1, like his overalls were a different color. And then he goes from blue and red, and then it flops as far as the overalls become the opposite color based on what game he's going through. So I had like all those screen references on my phone. I think the one where it was like, we need to be exact is when we did Mario or our Smash Brothers one, is we built it was like a $20,000 like American money set, just the set itself, and we wanted to look straight out of the game. So we had different like platforms and stuff like that, and then we got like a high quality like background of what the set looked like, and then we had someone else, like we hired a different company to rebuild that for us. But it is a case by case.
The planning that goes into that, and the attention to detail as well. Obviously, like because people are going to notice, like your hardcore Mario fans know what color the costumes are, just like the hardcore Zelda fans know exactly what sword Link is using in every single game.
Oh yeah,
like, so the fact that you're putting that extra attention to detail is what separates your videos from other stuff, because they're awesome. Like I was watching your Metroid Prime 4 one because I've been waiting for that game. There's no chance of releasing Metroid Prime 4 anytime soon, is there? I don't know when we're going to get that. You can't time that one, can you? But
yeah,
I was watching that, and I was like, that's the closest thing I've had to anything that resembles Metroid Prime 4, like at all, for years. And Metroid Dread came out, and I was like, this is cool, but it's not what I want. Like, I want to finally sort of get back into this world again. So watching your video was like the best thing I've had for years.
So that one's an interesting one, because that one made me a fan of Metroid, and I didn't know a ton about Metroid going into it. And that's like a rare exception. So for me, before I did that, I played the Super Nintendo one, Super Metroid. I tried playing the original Metroid, but I couldn't do it on the NES. It was just too, I didn't connect with it. And then I played Metroid Prime 1 and 2 on the GameCube. But that was one, though, where the one thing I didn't have right on that was Metroids can't really exist in cold worlds. And we had the Metroids coming out, and that was the big complaint I got, is people are like, you can't have Metroids in cold worlds. So it was like, I tried to be as much and did all my research. I played 3 games to like prep me for it, and I still screwed that one up for people.
Yeah, but who knows? Like, we don't even know what's going to happen in Metroid Prime 4, so perhaps they can exist in cold worlds now. Like, Nintendo might see that and be like, we need Metroids in cold worlds, and you'll be like, I told you. I knew this was going to happen.
One step ahead.
Yeah, man, one step ahead all the time.
That's what happened with our Fortnite video, is because in our Fortnite video, we have Star Wars characters. We even have Yoda come on at the end. And then the camera pans up and it shows the Death Star. And now, like, all the Star Wars world is, like, in the Fortnite world. So people were like, you predicted it way in advance. So that was, like, one time people were like, what? Yoda's not in Fortnite. But now, like, that world is in Fortnite. So people are like, we predicted it 5 years beforehand. So it's been
the
cool with,
Simpsons
like, that
and Devin
stuff.
Graham are the people who like predict everything now.
Right.
Like, you've got to come to those two sources to see what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
Do you ever you ever get in trouble with like trademarks and licenses and stuff? I know you're good friends with Nintendo, so they probably don't care, but I feel like more and more content creators are dabbling in getting in trouble with certain trademarks, because Nintendo do have a history of snapping at certain people.
So I've learned that they only snap when you do it in a negative, derogatory way, usually.
Right.
So I think the one time I was a little bit scared is, I mean, I've done 2 videos where it's Uncharted. So Nathan Drake, Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, and Indiana Jones. So I did it like all 3 of them together in the same world. I've done 2 of those. They've been 2 of my favorite videos we've ever done. And I was like, those are 3 different, very different IP. I mean, same kind of IP, but different like brands that own them. But it was done so positively, tastefully, and like true to the characters that no one said anything to me. I was afraid it was going to get taken down potentially, and I put so much time and work. Like we flew to Uzbekistan for one of them, Hawaii for the other one.
Wow.
And it was like the set pieces. I had to buy all these like Soviet like costumes. It's just like so much work went into it. But like I've never had any issues with any type of anything. With that said, it's like all their music, I always have it originally composed. It's obviously based off of like the source material, but it's like it's always originally based off of the source material. So we're not just straight up ripping anything from it, minus the sound effects are like the only things that usually I'm taking, because like the Metal Gear Solid or the Sonic coin sounds, like they're all iconic, and I didn't want to try to have something else that wasn't that. And I would say most of the time, opportunities come from those brands where they reach out. So like for me, like Assassin's Creed, I really wanted to work with Ubisoft, and then I didn't know how to get a hold of them, so I did my Assassin's Creed parkour video, and it blew up 80 million views. So then they hired me to do probably, I don't know, 5 other Assassin's Creed videos. They hired me to do Watch Dogs to promote that. Tom Clancy's The Division. They just recently hired me to do the new Star Wars project for the new Outlaws video game. So I do one fan film, they see it, it does really well, so then they hire me to do like 15 more videos for them.
I mean, it's a hell of a resume, isn't it? Like, you know, it's like you could do a job application for a job, or you could just put an amazing video up online and be like, hey, look what I can do. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Let's do way more of that. Like, that's fantastic.
People are always saying, well, like, how do you get these brands to work with you? And it's like, it's really hard to get anyone's attention. But if you can create something that's awesome that people share and gets a lot of views, then you get the brand's attention, then they want to work with you. So that's kind of been my secret sauce. If there's a brand I want to work with, I usually create something and show them in it some way. And then I'd say 70% of the time reach out to me to want to do something with me. So it's been really awesome that way. Like my Jurassic Park, like I told you at the beginning, like I love Jurassic Park. So I did this like $0 budget Jurassic Park film with like inflatable costume, like we're talking no money, right, that was spent on it. And then Universal Studios reached out to me and said, Devin, we love this video. We want to hire you to promote the next Jurassic World movie. So they hired me to do the last 2 Jurassic World movies. Like the last movie, we had Bryce Dallas Howard in our video as a cameo.
Damn.
And then they hired me to promote Fast and Furious 9. So we had several of those actors in it as well. And then they hired me to do one for First Man with Ryan Gosling. So I got to fly out to Florida and train to be an astronaut, and like all these amazing opportunities. And once again, I do my own like fan films based on these IPs, and then they see it, and then bigger opportunities come from it.
How weird that you said you either wanted to learn to be an astronaut or you wanted to do Hollywood movies, and then here you are working with like Hollywood actors, and you went to train to be an astronaut. You've kind of ticked everything off that you wanted to do as a child.
It's been very mind blowing. And like for me, it was like they said like, because Sam Neill was in the last movie. He was like the original actor from the original Jurassic Park. And they're like, you don't have him he can't be in your video, but you have like Bryce Dallas Howard and DeWanda, who's the other girl in the film. But like Sam Neill and like Jeff Goldblum, like the original cast, as we were filming there, they all walked by as we're filming the T-Rex costume. And then they walk up to us, and Sam Neill was like, this is amazing. Can you have your guy do a backflip for me? And he filmed himself like on Instagram, and then he posted it as like a main post, and he tagged me. So it's like we had this amazing like face-to-face interaction.
That's incredible.
So it's definitely been like a larger than life like experiences I've had. And the fact that it's connected so much with like the video game world and made me cross paths with all these incredible people in that space has been really like amazing, mind-blowing. But it just comes to like so passionate about it. I love these franchises, and I do everything I can with the budgets I have. which are a lot of times $0 budgets. And we just put everything into it, and then they see it, and then bigger opportunities happen from it.
What IP or franchise haven't you done a video on that you want to do?
I've never worked with PlayStation, and I would love to work with PlayStation. And I've never worked with Xbox. Crash Bandicoot,
something like that.
Crash Bandicoot would be a hard one. For me, right now, the ideal world would be with Uncharted. But they don't have any video games right now, and if they do another Uncharted movie, maybe they'll notice me there. But like, I love the Uncharted series. Final Fantasy for me, 7 specifically, is like one of my top 3 video games of all time, I would say. So like, if I had the opportunity to do something for the remake, I did get hired to do one for Final Fantasy 15, where they hired us to do like a road trip to kind of recreate the same vibe of the video game. So I got to work with Final Fantasy, but not Final Fantasy 7. To me, Final Fantasy 7 is like the holy grail of Final Fantasy.
Is there any chance of you doing anything for now that the Donkey Kong Country expansion's opened up at Super Nintendo World? Like, have you sort of thought about doing anything Donkey Kong related to kind of tie in with that, or is there any opportunity that Miyamoto might get on the phone and be like, "Hey man, do you want to come over and just put this Donkey Kong suit on?" Because that, I mean, you've mentioned Donkey Kong Country a couple of times. That'd be a dream come true, right?
Yeah, I bought a Donkey Kong costume like 3 months ago. With that mindset, but
where'd you even find that? Is that like
why are you not wearing it now?
I know, right? I'm sorry. They're like the cheap like Spirit costumes. If you guys are familiar with those type of they're like the $60-$70 costumes with like you see your face fully. And I was gonna do a parkour video, but I like the idea with like the bananas and everything. The ideal world is Universal Studios reaches out and says, "We want you to promote the new park." Right. And like, cause that's what happened for us for Abu Dhabi. They opened up the biggest indoor park in the world, Warner Brothers World, and they hired us to promote that. So we have like Batman, like all their iconic characters, and we got to use like all their costumes, and it's a big parkour video through the park. So it's like, we've done stuff like that before. So for me, it would be a dream come true, to do something like that, especially at the new Donkey Kong Country World that will be opening up in Florida and is about to open up in Japan if it hasn't already. Can't keep track of when everything's opening up, but that would be an ideal world for me.
I think we can probably like round off in a minute, Seb. Do you have, so you've told us what you're working on in the future. Is there anything else that you're kind of focusing on, or you've got planned in terms of like video games or movie shorts?
Yeah, our Fortnite video we did is one of our most watched on YouTube. I think it's the most watched Fortnite video in real life. I think it's around 60 million views.
Damn.
So we're doing a sequel to it soon. The script's almost done. All the costumes all been cast. Just those Fortnite videos, because there's so many people involved, they cost a lot of money and they take a ton of time. But that's like my next big project starting in January, February, March. And the other big one, which I haven't talked about, is I'm a hardcore Chrono Trigger fan. And cool. I'm doing if you're familiar with it, Rob and Luca, I have a really powerful story, but I want to make the Robo like practically, not VFX. And I want it to look amazing. So that's the next big one I want to do next year, 2025. So those are the ones I haven't started filming, but they're going to happen like 100%.
Did you get like a heads up by Epic in terms of the next one? Are they giving you like any info on what you should feature, like you did with the Yoda? So
Epic, one of their main studios is actually here in Utah, where we're based out of. So we met at one of their, not their main headquarters, but I think this is like their second or third. So we met with their advertising agency before we did Fortnite, our first one. And they're like, to be honest, everyone's promoting our game for free, so we don't need to pay
we're so big. We don't need to spend money.
So it's like, I was like, oh, bummer, because we're still going to do the project either way. And then that's what we did. So, I mean, we don't have any in of what's going to be the next thing, but I think ours is going to be really fun, and I'm really excited and passionate about it. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Amazing.
Nice. I appreciate that, Devin. I think that's all the questions asked, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely want to get some of those pictures of your collection so I can see these Zelda figurines for definite. And if we could share some pictures of like your stuff on our Instagram and stuff to kind of
forever in Utah, we'll have to give you a shout. Pop around.
That'd be amazing. We should definitely. I don't think I'd ever leave. I think he'd be like, "Could you get out of my house now?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, but there's so much to play." I'm not.
Donkey costume down, Seb.
I mean, listen, I take my own.
It is cool because when people come to my house, because I don't always talk about video game stuff. Like, it's not like it's usually like extreme sports or parkour and stuff like that. But then when they come to my house and they like walk downstairs, like the downstairs is like my game cave, I guess you could say. And they're like, what? Like, it's like the side of me they don't know anything about.
You
but
have
it's
a
definitely
problem.
like a core. Yeah, I do have a problem. But there's worse problems I could have. But yeah, it's been really fun and exciting, especially like when we had all our Mario Karts. They were all in our backyard. So you walk to our backyard, and there's like 8 Mario Karts, like a Donkey Kong with barrels and like a Bowser with.
Do you still have all that stuff?
I got, it was so much, like, picturing 8 go-karts in your backyard, right?
And they look awesome, those go-karts as well.
Yeah.
Like a lot of effort's gone into make them all like proper unique too.
Yeah, well, and then the backstory with that, I know that this is like done, but like Mad Max hired us, the video game, to promote their video game. So we took all that money and we made all those carts custom for Mad Max. And then we looked at it and they're like, if we just tweak these a little bit, we could make these straight out of Mario Kart. So
Nice.
then we went from painting them like rusty looking to like colorful and vibrant. And then we kind of catered them based on each character. So that's kind of how that came about. But we've sold them and got rid of them since then, because we're talking 6-7 years ago now for those ones. But yeah, well, thank you guys.
I'd love to see a video of that tour again, because Brandon's not seen it, and I've just kind of described it to him in great detail, at all hours of the day whenever we're chatting, and I think he's a bit sick of me talking about it. So if he could, I'm sure he'd actually like to see it in the flesh.
Hopefully it meets up to what your expectations are. I'll share it on my social, let people know the truth.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much for your time, dude.
Yeah, we'll see you guys. Have a good day.